Hey guys, today we're going to go over our physical changes and chemical changes in our flip book. So this is page 3, page 4, and page 5. Okay? So matter can be changed by heating, cooling, or mixing with other substances. A physical change means that the physical properties of an object or a substance change, but a new substance is not produced. And the way scientists study that is sometimes they'll take the mass of a substance before and after they observe the physical properties of that substance changing. If the total mass of the substance gets either less or more, then they know they have a chemical change happening. Like for example, when we mixed our baking soda and vinegar together, we had a chemical change. One substance was mixed with another and a new substance, the carbon dioxide, was produced. We could have calculated the mass of the vinegar and the baking soda before and after we did that experiment, and we would have observed a change in mass. So that was a chemical change. Similarly, if you put a nail in water and wait for it to rust, if you measure the mass of the nail before and after it rusts, you're going to notice a change in mass. A new substance, the rust, has been produced, and that has to do with the atoms rearranging and changing to form new compounds. When something rusts, you get extra oxygen atoms being produced, and that changes the total mass of the thing you're weighing. Look at these other items. When water changes from ice, its frozen state, back to its liquid state, water, do you think that's a physical or a chemical change? This one's a physical change. Same with crumpled paper. The properties of the paper, like how smooth it is, change when you crumple it up. It goes from smooth to wrinkled and crumpled. But the chemical composition of the paper hasn't changed. The mass of the paper is the same before and after you wrinkle it up. If you break a pencil in half, same thing. The mass of the pencil in broken pieces or whole is the same. So that is also a physical change. But if you set a piece of wood on fire, you're definitely going to have a chemical change. The mass of the wood is going to be different before you set it on fire. You'll have one mass, and then after it's burnt, some of it will turn to carbon. Other parts of the wood are released up into the air in smoke, and so the mass is different. Melted ice cream is another example of a physical change. When you bake cookies, that's a chemical change. The mass of cookie dough, believe it or not, is actually going to be different after it's baked. In cookie form, the mass will be different. Okay, so those are chemical changes. All right, so now we're going to come up with some examples of physical changes and put them on our list here. Crumpling paper is one. Getting a haircut is another example of a physical change. The property of your hair, the length of your hair, is going to change after it's cut off. But the composition of your hair hasn't changed, thank goodness. So getting a haircut, that's an example of a physical change. Try to list a few other examples of physical changes. Like, I'm thinking of sharpening a pencil. When you grind up the point of a pencil, and you get pencil shavings, the physical property of the pencil has changed. Its length is different. It gets shorter when you sharpen it, and the texture is different because pencil shavings have kind of a soft, powdery feel to them. But the chemical composition of the pencil has not changed. If you boil a pot of water on the stove for mac and cheese, that's a physical change. All right, chemical changes. A rotting banana. That's a great example of a chemical change. It cannot be undone. You can't go back in time and rearrange the molecules of the banana to be unrotten. Burning a match or lighting a match. That's an example of a chemical change. Vinegar and baking soda combining. That's another good example. Typically, any kind of cooking is definitely going to be a chemical change. So see if you can come up with a few more examples of chemical changes to add. All right, now on our last page, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow, but these are words that you should be able to define either with the help of your notes or without the help of your notes. This is a good way to test your own knowledge. If you can kind of describe some of these words without looking back at your notes, you know you're really learning the content well. If you look at some of these words and even after several weeks of talking about them, you're still not sure, you probably need to email me and let me know that you need a little extra help. And if you're kind of somewhere in between, like you somewhat know what the word means, but you do need to refer back to your note to define it, that's okay. That just means you need to make sure you study that word for the test on Friday.